I'm so into, you know, process mapping or system design now that if I, on a day where it doesn't feel like, you know, I mapped anything or documented anything, it can feel like a failure. Um, yesterday, I, um, yesterday was one of those days. I mean, I thought to myself, yeah, I didn't do any, I've got this huge amount of work that I want to, um, document, process, map, get into deliverables. You know, my philosophy, deliverables at the center. Um, you know, roles very very crucial. But anyway, so all of that I had to do. I didn't do any of that. There's a lot of horse manure on the path. Um, and there were some of my own kind of personal deliverables that I um, kind of didn't bother doing. Yesterday was all about getting a like big report approved in time, because it was already late, which is, you know, process improvement that needs to happen right there, because he was late and it was relying on somebody else. But that person, well, relying on multiple people, that's kind of the problem. It's a complicated one because there's a lot of ins, a lot of outs, as the great Lebowski once said. Um, so so it's mostly just trying to, you know, get that across the line and out the door. So that, and then when you do something like that where it's a bit of a weight off your mind, for me anyway, I tend to get pretty lazy after that. Um, which is something that, you know, I'm thinking about quite a bit. I want to work. I don't know how to, uh, you know, get past that, because in a way, it is good to treat yourself a little bit after a job well done, you know. But anyway, I was thinking about it. Actually, the other thing I did was figure out with our HR person and our culture person how to how we're going to onboard this person, how we're going to onboard this new director, this new board member, and not really how we're going to do it in the sense of actually, I'd already written out a plan, but you know, how to make sure all the buttons are kind of the correct decision had been documented. It was a board resolution. It was the first time, even though I, you know, run the governance of this young operation, I didn't know what a board resolution was. Yeah, apparently we need one of those. Anyway, so trying to figure out the right date so that it's in accordance with our, you know, articles of association or whatever. All right. So this was a process, like it's a part of a kind of corporate process, basically, that you want to be nice and smooth, not only to stay compliant, legally speaking, um, but also for the person. So that's the other side for this new board member who's coming on. Going to be talking to him today when I get back in the morning, and just you know, talk to him about the induction and, you know, get some dates booked in and stuff, and so making it smooth from a human perspective as well. And all of that is process, you know. The boss said he wanted this as done in a way that was a nice kind of done in a way so that it's is not haphazard, that, you know, we basically have a process for this thing now. And you know, if you get pulled into random work like that, or you get pulled away from your plan of the day, then it can feel like a waste if you don't then, if you don't, do that extra work, I suppose, to capture the stuff you're learning so that you don't have to learn it again. Because, don't know about you, but I have definitely had to relearn things multiple times because I just reached the end of my trail here that I gave myself. I'm going to come back. I'm going to wipe a lot of cobwebs off my face. Now that you can see my face, you'll see me do this. That's what I'm doing. I feel like maybe it's psychosomatic, but I think there's cobwebs everywhere. Although I just walked through them all, haven't I? Once, so should be all right now. Anyway, it's not a trail I walk enough, obviously. Anyway, so yes, the processes can feel like work in a day can feel like, at this point, maybe it's just me, feel like a waste if it's not in some way added to our system. And it's good. It is good. It's like, well, here's what is important to understand is that it will be a little bit extra work. Now the boss man, he's a kind of entrepreneurial alpha type. Typically, they're messy. They're extremely high in industriousness and, and just courage and determination and stuff. But they are not necessarily organized. And so they typically need, whatever team they build around them to kind of clean up after them in a way. I noticed that their desktops look horrendous. Their desktop, screens is just billions of folders. So I noticed that it's a particular type, not just an alpha male, but an entrepreneurial one. But anyway, so they're not. But he recognises the importance of process, which is great. I have worked for people in the past I worked for one guy who was in the military, and he didn't want to hear the word standard operating procedure ever again. He obviously used to be in the military, I should say. Anyway, but yes, current boss, fine with that, wants that, and wanted this for getting our board member on board, inducted. He wanted it in a process. He wanted it done well, done properly, because we hadn't done this before since the beginning, when he just kind of grabbed someone he knew who would be was like a serious person who would be a good board member for his new startup, and he's like, no, this time I'm not doing it, you guys are doing it. And he wants a process made of it. So anyway, so in this whole thing of building processes, it is a whole separate piece of work to actually document it fully, to get it into a format which is not only easy enough for somebody else to follow, but easy enough for someone else to find. And in my situation, that is a whole separate topic of how, if it's just you and a handful of people, then you can grab a tool and figure out, like, Encoder is what I would do, even though they've renamed now, but whatever, always be Coda to me anyway, or Notion or whatever, some kind of a way to list it all in a centralized place. It's not so easy in a situation where there's lots of people, where there's different departments. And even though my company I work for is young, there's still a lot of people, and they work remotely, and you know, it's and different pockets of people do different things, different departments do different things, do things differently. So anyway, it's a whole thing. So yeah, so it takes, shut up. Okay, my watch is talking to me. So it's a whole separate piece of work to do process capture properly. And I don't really have an answer as you know, for that yet. There are obviously ways to mitigate it. There are ways to kind of enforce it. The thing is, the more you put things into procedure, the quicker things do get over time. And so it's not something to slack on. It's not something to save time on in the short term, because it's only going to hurt you long term. Yeah, but I don't really have an answer. I could have done more to that. Well, also, I guess you could say that in this particular case, maybe I should just go through that process first and then worry about the rest. Yeah, I suppose that's it. As you go through a process, if it's a big one, what I should do right now is capture the messages that I sent back and forth, the key ones, into the same document where I planned out the induction. And that way, later on, when I'm, you know, drafting up the full process that can, you know, be taken off the shelf and re-executed when we bring in another board member, doing everything by the book with less of these like ad hoc meetings and this kind of approvals and whatever, because it's already been sorted out. In order to do that and make it quick for myself to do it, I've got to think about that through the process. Have a doc, which I already have, with the plan in, and but just add more to it. Just keep adding to it. Have a huge bloody thing maybe, but at the end of it, tighten it up, create a real resource so that you never have to do it again. Or if you do have to do it again, you'll do it much quicker, much less stress. That's the idea, isn't it? All right, turning chaos to order with processes. I don't have a tagline yet. Bye.